What's up, Ohio? Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Broulis Beat Report. I am your host, Nick Broulis. This edition of the Broulis Beat Report is brought to you by Cafe 80s. If you enjoy 80s music, you will definitely want to check out a Cafe 80s show. And as a matter of fact, Saturday, December the 2nd, Cafe 80s will be at Nathan's Patio in Canton, Ohio. So, if you are in the Canton area or even some of the surrounding areas, feel free to give them a look, check them out, and see what you like. Just go out and have a good time if you'd like. Well, today is Thursday, November the 16th, and we have some reviewing and previewing of both college and football. But before I get to that, I just want to let you know, if you do decide that you want to check out a Cafe 80s show, there are 3 ways that you can keep up to date with where they're at and what they'll be playing. The first thing you can do is get onto their Facebook page and like them. All you do is type in The Cafe 80s and like their fan page. You can go to their actual website, thecafe80s.net, or for those of you, and I know there's many of us, that have those smartphones out there, download that Bands in Town app, and then just type in Cafe 80s, and they'll actually send you emails letting you know where they'll be playing at in an area near you. Well, let's start off by reviewing last week's action. And we're going to start out with college football. Now, I had 5 games that I wanted to predict, so let's get started. First off, number 1 Georgia at number 10 Auburn. And I actually had number 10 Auburn beating the number 1 team in the country, Georgia. And suffice it to say, I got that one right. 40-17 was the final as Auburn absolutely clobbered Georgia. Next up, number 20 Iowa was coming off their biggest win in recent memory as they clobbered Ohio State. They headed to Wisconsin to take on the number 8 ranked Badgers. And guess what? Another butt whooping. 38-14 was the final score from Camp Randall. Next up, number 3 Notre Dame at number 7 Miami. And oh my gosh, if you watch this game, it was an absolute rout. 41-8, Miami handed Notre Dame their lunch pail and then some. Next up, number 6 TCU traveled to Norman to take on the number 5 Oklahoma Sooners. And again, pretty much a blowout. 38-20 was the final as the Sooners took down their Big 12 rivals. Then finally, number 12 Michigan State traveled down to Ohio Stadium to take on the Ohio State Buckeyes, who were ranked number 13 at the time. And this game was over in the second quarter. Final score was 48-3 as Ohio State absolutely dominated the Michigan State Spartans. Now, before we go and review last week's NFL action, let's give you an updated college football preview standing, shall we? With all the losses and the wins last week, this is what the new top 10 looks for the college football playoff. Number 1, Alabama. Clemson is now number 2, followed by Miami, who moved up from 7 to 3. Then Oklahoma's at 4, followed by Wisconsin at 5, Auburn at 6, number 7 Georgia, as they fell from number 1 to number 7, followed by Notre Dame, Ohio State at number 9, and then Penn State comes in at number 10. So those are your current college football standings. As we know, next Tuesday they will come out with the new ones after this week's action. Well, let's go back to the NFL's Week 10 last week. The teams that were on a bye week were the Ravens, Chiefs, Raiders, and the Eagles. Now let's start out with last week's Thursday night football action as Seattle went to Arizona and guess what? Got that win. 22-16 was the final as Seattle got the W on the road. Next up was the Packers at the Chicago Bears. And I actually took Chicago in this one, but it was the Packers that came away with a 23-16 win. Next up was the Steelers at the Indianapolis Colts. And I, for one, got that one correct. 20-17 was the final. That game actually almost went to overtime. Next up was the Chargers at the Jacksonville Jaguars. Guess what? I got another one right, thanks to overtime, that is. 20-17 was the final in Jacksonville. Next up, boy, did I get this one wrong big time. I actually picked the Bills to defeat the New Orleans Saints, and I got that one wrong. Wow, New Orleans pounded the Bills in Buffalo, 47-10. Woo! Wow. Ouch. Next up, I actually had the Jets beating the Buccaneers. I got that one wrong. 15-10 was the final there. Next up, Vikings at the Washington Redskins. I actually picked the Vikings to win that game, and I got that one right, 38-30. And then the Bengals at the Titans. I took Tennessee, and they did win 24-20. Next up is the Texans at the Rams. I took the Rams. I got that one right. That game was a blowout. 33-7 the final from LA. And then this one, I really got this one wrong. Woo. Dallas went to Atlanta, and they got their butts handed to them. 27-7 was the final. I got that one wrong. I had Dallas winning that game. And then a game that I actually got right here, I gave San Francisco their first win of the season, and they in fact did defeat the New York Football Giants 31-21. Next up was Sunday Night Football, Patriots at the Broncos. I took the Patriots, and I got that one right, handily, might I add. 41-16 was the final from Denver. And then Monday Night Football concluded Week 10 of the NFL season as Miami traveled to Carolina. I took the Panthers, and I got that one right by a large margin. 45-21 was the final from Bank of America Stadium. So, that is it with that. So, shall we move on? I'm actually only going to preview 2 games for this upcoming weekend of college football action. There's a noon game. Number 12 Michigan travels to Camp Randall to take on the number 5 ranked Wisconsin Badgers. And if you are a Ohio State fan, you are really hoping that Wisconsin wins out. So if Ohio State does get Wisconsin in the Big Ten title game in Indianapolis, and then if Ohio State can somehow manage to defeat the Badgers, that would actually help out their resume in that slim little chance of them possibly getting back in to the top 4 of the college football playoff. So, again, if you're a Buckeye fan, you are pulling for Wisconsin from here on out. And then there's a 3:30 game. Illinois travels to Ohio State to take on the number 9 ranked Ohio State Buckeyes. And again, Ohio State must win out. One more loss, and they are out of the picture, no questions asked. As of right now, they're still going to need some help to get into the college football playoff. Now, I already went over the current college football playoff rankings. I don't need to do that again. So that's it for this week's upcoming college football action. So now, let's move to week number 11 of the NFL season. The NFL season. And there are 4 teams on a bye: the Panthers, Colts, Jets, and 49ers. Now, Week 11 starts off with tonight, Thursday Night Football, and I think you all know where I stand with Thursday Night Football if you watch this show on a consistent basis. If you do not, I do not like Thursday Night Football for a couple of reasons, but that is besides the point. Well, Thursday Night Football kicks off tonight as the Titans travel to Pittsburgh to take on the Steelers. And I, for one, think that Pittsburgh is going to dominate this game. I think the game's probably going to be over by the midway point of the third quarter, if that. I just think that Pittsburgh's offense, along with that defense, and then being at home, I think it's going to be too much for Tennessee to overcome. So I'm taking Pittsburgh in the Thursday night game. Now, starting with the Sunday night games, Lions visit the Bears in an NFC North showdown. And the Lions managed to get by the Cleveland Browns last week, and I think that they're going to go to Soldier Field and defeat the Chicago Bears and try and stay in contention for that NFC North crown, along with a possible wild card in the NFC. Next up, let's see what we got here. Oh, okay, here we go. Next up is the Baltimore Ravens are traveling to the Green Bay Packers, and I just think that, now see, here's the thing. if Green Bay had Aaron Rodgers, I would obviously take the Packers. But they don't, and I believe one of their offensive linemen is out. And I just think at the end of the day, I think Baltimore is just going to be way too much for the Packers. So I took Baltimore to get a win on the road. Next up, the Cardinals will travel to Houston to take on the Texans. I'm going to take the Cardinals in that matchup. Buccaneers will travel to Miami to take on the Dolphins. I'm going to take the Dolphins. Rams at the Vikings. This was actually a very difficult game for me to pick. But I am going to take the Vikings, believe it or not. Next up, the Chiefs will travel to New York to take on the Giants. And the Giants just continue to be miserable. I'm going to take Kansas City here. Washington at the Saints. It's hard to pick against the Saints right now. I'm going to pick New Orleans. The Bills will travel to Los Angeles to take on the Chargers. I'm going to take Los Angeles in this situation. The Chargers, that is. Bengals at the Broncos. Another game that's very hard for me to pick, but I ended up taking Cincinnati in this game. Then, the Patriots will travel to Oakland to take on the Raiders, and another game that was very tough for me to pick. I took the Raiders in this matchup. Then, the Sunday night game features the Red Hot Eagles at the Dallas Cowboys in a showdown of the NFC East. No Ezekiel Elliott, and I am going to take the Red Hot Philadelphia Eagles. Then, Monday Night Football takes us to Seattle as the Seahawks will host the Atlanta Falcons, and I am going to take the Seattle Seahawks in this matchup. Then for our local game here, I am going to pick the Jacksonville Jaguars to go to Cleveland and defeat the Cleveland Browns, sending them to an 0-10 record. I just do not see Cleveland winning this game. I think Jacksonville has all the talent in the world on offense and defense, as my phone gets a notification here about the Cavs, but that's neither here nor there. So, anyways, I'm going to take the Jacksonville Jaguars to go to Cleveland and take out the Browns. And interesting note here, Tashawn Gibson, the former Browns safety, was talking a little trash about the front office, which I don't blame him for. But I think he made the mistake in saying that Jacksonville was going to hang 40 on the Browns defense. So that's going to be interesting to see how that unfolds. Well, that does it for this edition of the Broulis Beat Report. My name is Nick Broulis. And before I go, you can feel free to check out my Facebook fan page and give it a like. Go to the Broulis Beat Report to give it a like. That does it for this edition of the Broulis Beat Report. And until next time, I hope everybody enjoys this weekend of both college and NFL action. Have a good one, everybody.